Good morning, my love muffins. Reverend Sue from All Paths to God, recording live from my living room. It's now week 8, 2 months since we've gathered together in our own church home. That's hard to believe, isn't it? Sometimes actually it feels like it's sped by, and other times it feels like it's dragging on. And one thing I know for sure is I miss your faces. I miss my peeps. And I'm looking forward to us all being able to gather together again in person. That being said, you've probably received my update letter with the newsletter that was emailed. As the county lifts its restrictions on gatherings, All Paths to God is going to continue to be very conservative about coming together. As you know, we're already standing room only in our church, and there's just no way to practice safe social distancing. So we will continue to post our prayer treatments and our Sunday service on our Facebook page, and we will continue to connect at noon with our high noon consciousness of holding in mind the goodness and the healing and the rejuvenation of ourselves, our families, our community, and our entire world. And I am currently talking to the church at La Jolla Avenue, and they've suggested possibly using their parking lot for a drive-in church service. What's the minister in St. Pete doing? Come as you are and stay in your car. So as that develops, I will certainly let you know. But for right now, we are going to continue to be conservative and stay home and stay safe. If you want the world to be a better place, I heard y'all. We have to be a better person in it. Meaning we have to be closer to the truth of who we are, that essence, that substance out of which we are all made, that is peace and love and joy and harmony. I had a visit this week from a friend who is a registered nurse. She called and asked me could she drop something at the house, and said of course she would practice safety protocols. And so when she came up to the door, I kind of laughed, because there she was in all of her protective gear and her gloves and her mask, and the very first thing she said to me from 6 feet further back from me was, "Don't bring it, don't take it." That sounded like her. Don't bring it, don't take it. And she handed me a hand and food sanitizer, I'm sure made out of her own organic materials, and a immunity boost hand soap. Well, she didn't come to give me those things. That was part of her safety protocol. What she came to give me was a very generous love offering. So after she left, this "don't bring it, don't take it" resonated with me, because I realized in that moment she very deliberately calculated what she wanted to bring and take and what she didn't want to bring and take. So it translated in my mind as, don't bring it, don't take it, be deliberate about it. That's what we are doing when we say, if we want the world to be a better place, we have to be a better person in it. We're being deliberate about how we're showing up in the world, knowing that we choose that. The world doesn't choose how we show up. We show up in the world however we choose. I've heard a lot of people speculating and having conversations about why this virus, this pandemic, has struck us. And some people just believe it's purely random chance, like everything else that happens in the universe, that we have no influence or no control over it, that we just kind of suffer along with the things that are negative and we celebrate along with the things that are positive, but we certainly can't select them or direct them in any way. And then I've heard the theories that this is divinely ordained, that this is Mother Earth cleansing itself. Well, that one doesn't exactly sit with me either, even though I do believe that there is some natural order to the universe that will self-regulate as it looks for its stability. But the idea that God, the divine energy, is selecting some people to stay, some people to be affected negatively, some people to make a transition and pass on, that has never resonated with me. As a matter of fact, that's why a lot of people come to New Thought churches. That idea of a judgmental God is something that doesn't sit in peace. And so we believe we're co-creators. We believe, as is true with God, made in the likeness and the image, it is true with us. And God created out of the Word. First there was the Word. We believe that our consciousness, the words that we think, the words that we speak, our feelings that we harbor inside of our being at most times, and our activities interact with this grand law of consciousness in the universe in such a way that it makes a form into which spirit pours itself. It is the outpicturing of God manifesting as form, as life manifesting as form. Energy in itself is totally neutral, neither positive nor negative. It wouldn't know or couldn't show up as disease or as health. It needs direction. It needs a mold into which to pour itself in order to take one form or the other. And how is that mold created? That mold is created through our own consciousness, through our individual consciousness, through our collective consciousness, through our race consciousness of our generations. It is the unfoldment of our being and our knowing and our understanding of our relationship to creation and our participation in the creative process. I, years ago, was going to speak at a celebration, appreciation celebration for my mother, who had worked with the emergency squad here in Sun City Center for 17 years as a dispatcher, and she was retiring, and they were having a dinner event to celebrate her contribution, and so I was going to speak. And one of the things I did was to go online and look up stories about emergency workers, those first responders, get a little bit of understanding about them, see if I could come up with a story that would aid my recognizing her and the contributions of who we're now clearly understanding as those heroes that run in toward vulnerability and danger when everyone else is staying home and staying safe. And I ran across a story about a woman who was home by herself. Her husband was traveling on business during a violent thunderstorm, and she was 9 months pregnant, and she went into labor. She was home alone except with a 5-year-old daughter. And so she called the emergency system to have someone, paramedic, transfer her to the hospital. But because of the electrical storm, a lot of the systems were out. So as it turns out, only one paramedic got the call and responded. So when he got to the house, of course, all the electricity was out. The 5-year-old was very upset, and the mother was clearly ready to give birth. So the paramedic prepared to help mother with the labor and engaged the 5-year-old in the process by asking her to hold a flashlight for him, which she did. And the birth was uneventful. Baby was born, baby brother, with no problems whatsoever, and the paramedic held him up by his little ankles and spanked his little buttocks, and the baby cried, and everything was perfectly normal. And after it was all over, the paramedic had said to the little 5-year-old, well, what did she think about that? What did she think about the birth of her brother, her new brother? And without hesitation, the little girl said, he never should have crawled up there in the first place. Spank him again. Well, isn't it interesting how when we don't know the truth, it doesn't stop us from having a belief that we know, from filling in the story, filling in the gaps. I don't know the truth as to why we have this virus, why we have this pandemic. I don't know that anybody does. We have our belief systems of what we think is the truth, and they guide our thoughts, our emotions, our behavior. But I don't know that anyone really does know the truth. But one thing I feel pretty confident in knowing is that it is up to us to choose how we show up in the world, how we show up in the face of crisis and turmoil, how we show up in the face of joy, that regardless of what is going on around us in our experience, we still always have a choice of how to show up. Now, we take that belief one step further, where we believe that the more positive we show up, the more positive experiences will be, because we actually have a creative participation. But either way, I think it's fair to say that we can generally all agree that how we respond to situations is equally as important. So what this means to us is we have to embrace the mystery, we have to accept the reality, and we have to invest in the mastery. Embrace the mystery. We don't know. We have to accept the reality. Deal with the circumstances that we're confronted with right in the here and now in our life experience. And invest in the mastery. Show up in the best way that we possibly can. Allow the highest ability of love and peace and joy and harmony and goodness to flow to us, through us, and from us. If we want the world to be a better place, we have to be a better person in it. Don't bring it. Don't take it. Be deliberate in it. Pick and choose what we bring and what we take to our worldly experience. This is our mission. This is our response to any particular challenge that we have. This is our way of being. Be deliberate about it. My love muffins, we can't go back and make a new start, but we can start now and make a new ending. We are the people. Now is the time, and this is the way. Namaste, my friends.